gonna have an answer for it. We're not just talking about cars that are gonna wanna go to McDonald's. We have a lot of blue collar in this area. We're talking Amazon people, UPS, we're talking contractors, we're talking landscapers. All these guys love McDonald's. For instance, you have a landscaper with a trailer, where is he gonna park? To me, his only choice of parking is on Dayton. There is no other parking. To whoever brought it up earlier about a bus coming in. There's just no parking there.
John, you gotta move your microphone, John. Move it closer so you can hear.
Sorry.
Move your microphone closer.
Did you hear what I was saying?
I did, yes. So,
I mean, I'm sure you guys haven't given any thought to that, and I don't know if you really care about it, but I think the residents back there care because not only are those guys gonna come down and park on Dayton to get their food, now they've gotta go down Dayton, go all the way around and come out, so they have to go through that whole entire neighborhood to get out. I know you probably haven't given that any thought.
so I mean, really, just to touch on that, it's almost no different to what happens next door. I mean, you've got a Dunkin' Donuts. I would imagine if the same clientele's going there. They've got similar vehicles. At least in this scenario, we've got a site that's got 2 driveways. You can circulate the site. If there's no parking, they can, similar to the delivery truck, they can stage where they have space. And again, just back to the school bus scenario, yes, there's no parking on site for a school bus, but there's a school across the street. They would theoretically be able to go back over there and park while whoever's in the building ordering.
No other questions? Okay, we can go to the public.
Good.
All set.
Dan Conway, 3 Greenwood Road. First, is there any other exhibits that are going to be shown? I know we started with the one, and then this came up as they started asking questions. Is there anything else that needs to be discussed?
No, just
Just these 2? Okay, thank you. If we could just zoom in on the top of the diagram, either this one or the prior yeah. So looking at that crosswalk, correct me, that looks like it's walking right into the corner of Hillview. Is that accurate?
no. It's aligned with the curb line, and we aligned it this way so that this is, I mean, hovering over where the 2 crosswalks intersect. That's your turning area from an ADA perspective. If you're going to go straight or make a left or right turn, that would be the location where you're making that.
Okay. Could you go to the one with the truck, please? I'd appreciate that. So if we could start at the top and look at the truck entering from the from the southbound side of 202. From your diagram, it shows that the truck has to enter the exit lane for the vehicles to exit coming out of the drive-thru in order to make that turn. Is that accurate?
It is using the entire driveway width, yes.
And then conversely, if it was coming southbound, it would have to do the same, but into the back end would cross into the exit lane as well.
I'll pull up our original. Just one second. So this is a 3. If it's coming in, if the truck's traveling southbound to enter the site and making a left in, it's still similar situation, but it is less area that it's disturbing.
So the I'm sorry, I apologize. So the southbound lane, sometimes it's 1 lane, sometimes it's 2. It's just a fact of that area of the road, depending on people making a left onto Ridgedale Avenue. That truck, it appears, has to be on the far right-hand side of that street in order to make the hard left-hand turn into that site. Is that accurate?
It's located closer to the westerly curb, yes, west curb line.
If cars are backed up because of the left-hand turn, how does a truck make that turn?
You can either drive around and come in on the other side, this iteration, or you could wait for that condition to pass.
So drive around, you're saying they'd have to go all the way somewhere else, find somewhere to turn around, come back down either Ridgedale or somewhere else, and make that turn.
Yeah, it would be up to operations and the truck driver as to how they want to handle that condition.
How tall is a standard 18-wheeler or McDonald's delivery 18-wheeler?
13 feet 6 inches.
And our railroad track is how high?
It is 13.8 in the southbound direction and 13.7 in the northbound direction.
So forgive me, we have 1 or 2 inch clearance if they're coming from that direction.
If they choose to go from that, yeah.
So more likely than not, they're gonna come from the other direction if they're well-versed in the area to avoid any risk of connecting in any way, depending on load of the truck or emptiness of the truck.
I mean, I really say that's operational. The truck driver
Okay.
has to consider that. I know that there's enough clearance to go north or south in that area if they choose to go that way.
McDonald's is the delivery company, correct?
Martin Bauer is their delivery provider.
Martin and Bauer. So it's not McDonald's itself, it's a carrier for McDonald's.
Correct.
All right, so if we go back a slide to the prior one. So let's say it comes from the south, it's heading north, makes a turn in. Let's say it can't make a turn in because the car's exiting. What does it do? Has to sit there and wait?
Yes, it'd be a few moments. They use hand signals similar to trying to turn into tight streets. They make deliveries in New York City, so this driveway is probably, it'd be a few moments. They could wait, they can signal for a car to wait, they can wait for an exiting vehicle to leave so that they have the sufficient room to enter the site.
And again, in that scenario, they still have to be on the far center of the northbound lane in order to make that turn.
These models that we use, so this is like an AASHTO truck turning program, these are conservative. We find that the actual trucks are more maneuverable, but we design to the worst case, which is what's shown on the screen.
Understood. Okay, so it makes its way in. There's 11 cars in the drive-thru. It can't wait to get through because your design, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong from testimony, is that the queue is 10 cars. It has to wait for that car to make its way through. So it could be potentially 2 minutes.
No, so my prior testimony was that 10 cars fit in 2 lanes up to the order boards. So each lane can fit 4 to 5 cars, and that totally is outside of the area needed, and also on the yellow. This is the area that the truck conservatively needs to circulate on site. So if you had, call it 10 cars here, the truck would not conflict with that, it would not have to wait for those cars to move.
So the 10
And that's
cars.
assuming, sorry.
I apologize.
So 10 cars in stacked on the drive-through would be a peak hour, so that's another scenario where the truck shouldn't be coming on site at that time. If it's a busy time, it's probably peak hour, if there was gonna be a stack out to the crosswalk essentially, it would be at a peak hour.
So let's talk about the delivery time, right? So one truck delivers to how many locations on one truckload?
That, I don't know. They hit several stores for sure. I just don't know if it's 5, 10. I don't have that information.
Do you know how long it takes to unload at one location?
Yes, and I did testify to it previously. Just let me pull up that note. Just make sure it says it. Right. So it was twice a week, depending on how busy the store is, and it's on site for 30 minutes, give or take.
So roughly, and again, maybe I'm asking it the wrong way, one truck, do you know how many stores one truck delivers to?
At a time, no, I don't.
Not even a rough number.
I just said 5 to 10, but I don't have
Okay, 5 to 10, so it's not necessarily totally easy to say when they're gonna deliver.
It'd be a range. Again, we've got the off-peak hours. They would start at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That'd be one of the off-peak hour slots. 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. That would be the second off-peak slot. So they'd have to make it to the site in those hours.
So they would wait somewhere. If it was 1 o'clock, they're not gonna show up and try to deliver at that time.
Potentially, that becomes the logistics and how they plan their sites. If they know a site's going to take longer, they might want to hit that one first or last to offset that. You know, and again, I defer to the delivery company to make that all work. But usually, what I've seen is we give them the range, and they try to adhere to it best they can.
Just a question, since you're deferring to the delivery company, will they be testifying?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, so it gets through the drive-through point, it gets over to the 6 parking spots by the garbage can. Is that where it's gonna unload? Or is it gonna unload in the back? Or we don't know yet?
When you mean the 6, you mean these east?
So truck number 1 on the left, right there. Is that its unload location?
No, this is all part of the circulation maneuver. So if they were to stop in this area, say there's no cars parked there and they feel comfortable stopping here, I would suggest that you're going to move closer to the trash enclosure. There's about 20 feet here separating the truck and the gates, which would be closed. So that's one scenario. But what we did is provide more room on the easterly side. So the intent is for them to stop in this area, and they would take up the whole frontage of the trash corral area and block a few spaces, 3 to 4 is my prior testimony there.
So those 3 locations, take those 3 trucks in its circulation. It stops somewhere close to the garbage can, one of the other locations, somewhere in that yellow, a part of the truck is located, correct, in its delivery?
No, not at the delivery. So this is, again, it's just for the circulation. There is room, as we can see here. It doesn't take up the whole space within the trash area. There's a lot of room there that can be used for staging and pulling it further out of the circulation aisles. This doesn't show that. This just shows how it would move around the site.
Okay. When it is in one of these, even if it's delivering, great example, landscaper gets their drive-through, they go on a drive back around because they want to park. They can't park, so they try to look over here. Even if they're in a regular truck, how do they get through?
If the delivery truck is there,
If the delivery truck is there.
there's room. The truck's not 10 feet wide, but I said if the truck's taking up 10 feet of width, there's another 10 feet for any traffic to any other cars to circulate around the site. And that's also part of the benefit of moving this exit driveway further to the west. Previously, we were aligned here, but now we've got more room for anybody to exit out onto Dayton.
You'll have to forgive me because I don't understand the flow then or the model, because everything in yellow appears to be where the truck would be at any given time,
Not
in either circulation or parking.
in circulation, yes.
How is there space in any of those locations for a car to get by that he's either not going through the drive-through, wants to park, or wants to pick up, as was questioned earlier, on the side? How is there room for him to get by, or that person to get by?
Got it. I understand now. So this shows the area needed to circulate. This is not the area needed for parking. This shows the truck, again, the trailers out to the drive-through lane essentially, and the cabs in front of the parking. What they're gonna do is they can pull forward and essentially, effectively try to parallel park and get as close to the trash enclosure area so that only the full width that's the truck's length is what we need. We don't need everything in yellow for the delivery maneuver. We only need that for the circulation maneuver.
So then exiting onto Dayton Road needs the full length of Dayton Road, the width of Dayton Road, in order to make that turn without hitting a curb or going over the curb or the grass, based on the design you've presented tonight.
In this circulation, yes.
Okay, so if we could go to the very last truck on the top right. There's no exit there. Presumably, if it tried to make a right there, I don't see how that flow happens. Maybe he would have, the driver would have to be, correct me if I'm wrong, on the far left-hand side of Dayton Road in order to make a right-hand turn without interfering on southbound traffic.
Let's make a right-hand turn.
I can, if you want me to
No,
repeat.
so it'd be, yes, if he's gonna make a right turn, he's probably gonna have to swing a little wide here to get clear, the trailer clear of the curb work on the, at the intersection.
Okay, and then the last piece, making a left-hand turn. In order to make a hard left-hand turn, if that is at the time a two-lane backup, which happens quite often, it would be able to make it, but would still have to make the hard to the edge of Speedwell on the southbound side.
I wouldn't say they'd have to go that far. This intersection there's certainly more room than our driveway entrance, so the driveway entrance being the worst case, they do have more room or ability to turn without going, taking up the full lane, but they can take up the full lane if they need to. But in this design, in this model, it's not necessary to make that left turn.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ann Dugan, 31 Canfield Place. I just had a question regarding the shifted exit onto Dayton Road. I was wondering if you studied the Wendy's on the corner of 10 and 202 that has also a shifted driveway at all?
I didn't
It
study.
shifts to the right, so you're not supposed to make a left there. Go to Wendy's, or I go to Wendy's quite often, and I can tell you I see multiple cars every time I go there, go out and around and make a left-hand turn. What's to stop people from doing that? Making the right around the end? I know you're gonna say there's a sign, no left turn. Just today, sitting on my porch at the end of my cul-de-sac, saw a motorcycle come from Buckley Way over the sidewalk into the cul-de-sac, went down Dayton to miss the light at Speedwell and Ridgedale. Seen it multiple times come through there. So just because you have a sign that says don't do that, people are gonna do it, and we know people are gonna make a right. And then also they could go out, if they're gonna try and make a left during a busy time, they could go out the McDonald's parking lot, make a right onto Speedwell, and then another right onto Dayton to go down and around to the light. So that's also infringing on the residential area. One other question, you brought up Fairlawn and Bayonne stores. Were you aware that Fairlawn is 6 times the size of Morris Plains and Bayonne is 11 times the size of Morris Plains?
No, I was not aware of.
Okay, we looked, there's pictures of the sites online, and it looks nothing like this, there's no residential area anywhere near these that we can see, so.
They're adjacent to residential areas, both of those locations.
Single-family homes?
Bayonne is a multifamily zone. There are homes up and down.
There are single-family homes that abut
The
this.
Fairlawn site, yes.
Could you show that to us? Like,
I can
do you have a plan?
provide an exhibit if you want to see it, but
Yeah,
it's-
I would. Okay, great, thank you.
Craig Moran, 7 Hillview Avenue. Question regarding the Bayonne location that you mentioned being similar. On the Broadway street, the entrance into the McDonald's, it's one way. You can only it's only an entrance, and you can only enter from the right. They actually have like the safety poles to prevent a left-hand turn going out or a left-hand turn coming in. Now that's on like a traditional traffic light corner grid type thing where the side street comes right up to the traffic light, so getting out is relatively easier. With our street, during rush hour, the traffic light is down on Hanover Ave and another 300 feet or whatever in the other direction. During rush hour, it's gridlock. Now with something like McDonald's where a lot of it is based on convenience and getting in and out, how are those cars going to, how is that whole area gonna be regulated so that it's, like, the flow is gonna be okay, because they're not gonna be able to come out in either direction on Speedwell.
So the traffic engineers studied, and they'll go into this when he testifies, analyzes those scenarios exactly. So to be able to touch upon, the
Okay.
weighting, the delay.
And this may also be traffic as well, I'm not sure. With that entrance and exit on Speedwell, with its relative proximity to Hillview, Hillview is a notorious cut through from Speedwell to Mountain Way, the next street parallel to Speedwell, where the speed limit is not typically adhered to. With the clientele coming to McDonald's, whether it's the people delivering Grubhub or whatnot, or just people in a rush, was there any thought given to the proximity to the entranceway to Hillview in terms of people making a right and then attempting to make a quick left?
That was looked at as part of the layout
Mhm.
in the planning stages, and we landed on, trying to get the driveways offset from that to improve, or to restrict that maneuver, force people to slow down so it's not just cut out direct straight shot.
Thank you.
Carl Ring, 22 Dayton Road.
Last time I asked a question about the sewer line capacity, and I think you said you were gonna look into that after I asked the question. Did you look into that?
We're
Okay. So you still haven't done a full analysis of whether or not the additional volume, or you did mention earlier that the grease trap is part of the sewer line flow connected to the main sewer line, correct? So basically waste comes through to the grease trap and then out to the sewer line, correct?
No, the intent of the grease trap is to prevent.
I understand that, the word trap is by definition, I
Yes.
understand. But it is part of the path to the sewer line, correct?
It is. Yes.
Okay. Does the trap catch everything?
It does a pretty good job, especially if we get it
Pretty good
close.
job. Does it catch everything?
Somebody's keeping a record, if I don't answer, then don't interrupt.
Sure.
Makes it much easier for whoever's next talking.
So in our experience, does it catch everything? No. Getting it as close to the building as we have it increases the likelihood of it capturing at the maximum.
Okay, great. So, but you guys are looking into what the increase in volume will do to put additional strain and stress onto the sewer line that is utilized by the residential neighborhood that it runs through?
Yes. I will have that for you next time.
And you will bring that to the next? Okay, great. And then this one, maybe save you some time, I'll get me out of here. So you are brought in after the site has already been chosen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you would not have any insights into the actual choice of the site. That would probably be something better for the traffic study expert, correct?
Well, no, I think the site selection is done by McDonald's.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, in your experience as an expert doing planning and engineering for McDonald's or similar types of businesses like that, it would seem like they would be choosing their sites based on high volumes of traffic in the road segment on which they're looking to place this location, correct? Based on your experience of working on these various projects over time, correct?
I mean, you said he was a planner, he's not a planner. He's just a civil engineer.
I didn't say he was a planner, I just asked if he had experience working on multiple sites and if he knew that typically the sites were chosen based
Actually,
on.
I'm gonna just remind everybody, really, all the questions he was asked a lot of the general questions before. Now, it's limited to the two exhibits that he talked about, not hypotheticals, it's what he just testified to, those plans.
Got it. Okay, all right. Then I will save the rest of mine for the traffic expert. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening, Greg Devine, 91 Sun Valley Way. There's, I think you have 3 tabs open. I think 2 of them are plans though, right? You have the old plan versus the one with the truck.
Yes,
If you don't mind pulling the truck one up. Earlier you testified we'd be seeing more plans. I thought it was like more than a handful, but looks like we've seen one new one. Is there any other plan that you have developed or an exhibit that doesn't envision a truck exiting onto Dayton?
No, we have all of our, the plans we submitted show the truck exiting on Dayton. This
Okay.
iteration and the prior iteration.
Okay, and earlier, I think you testified in answer to Jill Cecere, who lives on Dayton, by the way, that you're aware of the ordinance restricting 22-5A, that there's no trucks over 4 tons exiting on the Dayton Road?
Yes, and actually the traffic engineer is going to touch on that.
Okay, so you're aware of that. Do you, does, probably your interpretation of law, counsel, you probably haven't, not. Does that apply to this plan, that restriction?
Again, the traffic engineer will touch on that. My understanding is no.
So, okay, so it's, so I guess I'll ask the traffic engineer, and then there's the planning board, I think, would have the legal. So there's no variance being, I guess I'll ask the planning board about variances. Are you aware of any variance being sought, or any amendment to the code, or anything to modify that restriction? Okay, so right now, there's nothing on the table that McDonald's or the representatives or engineer believes is required for trucks to exit onto Dayton Road that are 4 tons or more.
Correct. I'm not aware.
Okay. For the turn radius, do you mind scrolling up just a little bit to the top, sorry, to the block box on Dayton? Yeah, just a little higher. The turn radius, I noticed you didn't have a truck making, is it left turn only, or is it both ways? They can make left and right?
They can make both ways.
And the turn radius for a right turn, I mean, the left turn seems like it'd be more, is that, it'd probably be helpful, is that maneuverable if they don't swing over to the oncoming side of traffic? Because it's a two-way street.
Yes. So someone just brought that up, and I just explained, walk through. Basically, to make the left turn, it's very similar to the driveway entrance. So they don't need to swing they don't need to swing wide or into alternate lanes to make the left turn out. Prior resident just questioned how far west the truck would have to go, and they can use the full lane if they need it to make that left turn. But again, the maneuver would happen within that boxed area. For a right-hand turn, they would need to, the truck would need to make some additional maneuvers to be able to swing the trailer and miss the curb, if they're this close to the curb at that location.
Do those additional maneuvers involve anything on Speedwell, not just, on Dayton on the curb? Like, will they be crossing over the double yellow or whatever line is there?
No, they won't be.
They won't be, okay, they can make that sharp turn. Okay, and could you mind scrolling all the way down and to the left? Just, I think it would be, you talked about the Dunkin' Donuts. Could you slide over to the left, show the Dunkin' Donuts there? You could see, scroll up, please. No, sorry, the other way, I'm directionally dyslexic. Behind Dunkin' to the left, you guys use that as an example to show. See that back parking lot? That's where the larger trucks, the delivery, the landscapers, that's where I notice those trucks. Because when I get in there late, or it's rush hour, I go back there and I see a lot of the guys I know, my Osborne's, the whole crew. So that's where those trucks would park. So I just think your comparison to Dunkin' earlier is probably, it's not workable, because they'll pull to the back. And there's actually a lane for them to pull to the back. So just, I don't think it's a fair comparison. And that's it, I have other things for traffic, so thank you very much.
Jill Cecere, 11 Dayton Road. We might as well start with the do not block the box, because this is the first time seeing it. Was that added to accommodate the truck that was already prohibited in Dayton Road? Is the first I'm seeing or hearing about it?
No, that was a change that was incorporated.
What was the purpose of it?
It was requested.
By whom?
I believe it was the traffic engineer, or it might have been the police who requested do not block the box, right?
Okay, I'll have to look into that, because this is the first I'm seeing of it, and
It's in the revised plans, it's part of the revisions we just
Okay, that's one of many questions. Security cameras, that was brought up last meeting. And you said there was no security cameras in the design. Is there any now?
Sorry, just to go back to your original question, it was requested by the police department.
The police department? Okay.
We will have security cameras.
Okay, so locations, or is there any in the
We
designs?
will provide the locations, but we will have security cameras.
Okay, I see that you did add 4 garbage cans, and typically is that something that's the employees empty every night and put in the dumpsters, or they just sit until they overflow?
No, sorry. They're changed frequently, so that the staff, where I've seen these trash receptacles on sites, they're changed at least 2 times per day.
And then you said the deliveries come at off-peak hours. Is that off-peak hours for McDonald's or
Yes.
for the traffic that is
For
in
the
town?
McDonald's. The intent is to have this, the store be dirty. It's
And
not.
what is off-peak hours? You might have said it, I apologize, I didn't hear it.
Yep. So the morning rush is 7 to 9, so it would be after 9. Lunch rush is 11 to 2, so it would be, between 9 and 11, that would be an off-peak hour. And 2 to 5 is off-peak between lunch and dinner for McDonald's.
For McDonald's, definitely not for traffic. Okay, could you go to the landscaping? I see that you added the berms, 'cause that is my house on the other side. And there was mention of the mature evergreens staying.
Yes.
Is there a reason?
Yes, they're large trees that,
Which will be compromised with construction of the dumpster and all the other landscaping?
no, we've provided sufficient distance. And actually, there's existing improvements that are closer, so we would,
Yeah, but I mean, the root systems, those are huge trees. I don't know if you realize how tall they are. And if you're gonna disturb the soil, rip it all up, do beautiful landscaping, those trees, when they come down, they're coming down my house. And I understand Orber City, we wanna keep mature trees. That provides nothing of a sound barrier or a buffer to my house or the neighborhood that continues down Dayton Road. And I'm just I'm concerned that once you start disturbing the soil and doing all the construction, they will be compromised. So, just want to make note of that. Let me just see crosswalk. 2/3 are drive-through, and 1/3 is park or walk. But yet you can't give a number of what that is. I mean, 2/3 of 100, 1,000. I mean, it's a huge number that needs to be taken into consideration for pedestrian safety, for traffic.
Our traffic expert's going to get into those numbers for you.
So there is numbers.
Yes.
So before, when we were told there wasn't any numbers.
No, he doesn't have the numbers. The
Okay.
traffic expert has the numbers.
The traffic expert has the numbers
Yes.
of how many
Yes.
customers. Okay. And let's see, I just don't want to be rushed.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
As the neighbor immediately adjacent to the site, would you have an issue with food deliveries an hour before opening? Would you have issues with the truck coming an hour before it opened?
If you're opening at 6 in the
Six,
morning,
so
yes, I
5 to
do
6.
have issue. Deliveries at 5 in the morning.
Would you have an
Yes.
issue with it 1 hour after closing?
Yes, I would.
Okay, I'm just,
I mean, if you've seen the property.
no, I'm just
we're
asking to put.
inches away from the
No, no,
fence.
I get it, there's a lot
Right
of
down the
questions
street.
about during the day deliveries. I'm just offering an alternative, and I'm just asking you to give me an answer.
Yes, I would have issues. I
Okay.
definitely have many issues. Let's see. You said it's a 2-minute pickup from taking the order and then picking it up, the idling of a car. But are they in line prior to that? For the emissions, the cars, the noise, it's, 2 minutes is in a magical world, I believe. If you have 10 people stacked, 10 cars,
So,
clearly it's more than 2 minutes.
the traffic engineer, they have that information about circulation in the drive-through before and after the order is placed.
And then, how many parking spaces are we providing right now in these two zones?
We've got 30 spaces, 32 with the EV credit, but 30 service parking
And,
spaces.
but it requires 41, and you're asking for a variance on that? And you said 6 spaces total are for mobile and Uber, and then a plus, give or take, 6 to 9 for employees. So we're up to 12 out of the 32. So really, there's maybe 20 parking spaces for people that would like to park in the way.
So the 6 spaces that are reserved for the mobile orders and the pull forwards, those are spaces that if they weren't reserved, they have to park somewhere. So the reserving those spaces for that, it's just to get them closest to the building door so the staff can bring out the order and not have to walk to, say, the furthest parking space. So that's the intent of that. But that, I believe I touched upon previously in testimonies that 2/3 of that traffic, that's the 1/3 of traffic that's going in the store and actually parking it's baked into that number. Those spots that are for staff.
And then not to mention the 3 to maybe 5 spots when the delivery truck is blocking either people in or blocking the spaces. So now we keep on dwindling those spaces down.
The delivery, again, is 30 minutes each occurrence, twice
30
a
minutes
week.
is 30 minutes. If I park and go into McDonald's
Yeah.
to get a meal and I come out and there's a truck and they're like, oh, well, you have to wait 30 minutes. I mean,
Can I just?
that's
Roman,
not a parking space.
Please bear in mind, allow them to answer, you don't have to argue with it, but allow them to answer. And then
Okay, I'm sorry.
follow-up question, thanks. It's just, we are transcribing it one at a time.
No, I understand that. We're talking about minimal parking spaces already, and then different ones being either blocked or taken or reserved for something. So the number of parking spaces is really actually smaller than what is in the designs. I'm just pointing the facts that have been presented tonight, in my opinion. Okay, and the DOT, you mentioned, agreed with moving the crosswalk. Is that something that they were planning on doing regardless, or is this because to accommodate the entrance and exit of McDonald's?
We presented it to the DOT as part of this application.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Hello again, Carolyn Bennett, Bennett, 19 Dayton Road. I'm actually going to piggyback off of what she just said because it was one of my first questions. So when was the DOT pre-application meeting that I think you mentioned first when you pulled this up on screen?
One second.
Take all the time you need.
And your question relates to the new exhibits that you showed?
Most certainly.
Okay.
I'll keep looking for the date, not to hold you up, but if you want to ask your question.
I have all night, but okay, I'll proceed. So I'm specifically reacting to the crosswalk enhancements, which are at the top of what's on the screen. And I'm struggling, so if you can just further explain how the crosswalk optimization shown here how and why will, if this were to go through, would be replacing the town's efforts that they are already moving towards, which include adding a light to the existing crosswalk. Like, I'm not wrapping my head around, we're gonna fix the crosswalk there, regardless of what you guys do, and then if this passes, you're gonna come in and just replace all of those significant improvements that were shared with the public last week.
So, again, I'm still looking for the date, but that was done after we filed initially, so it would have been done after May, when we met with them. And that was after we actually received the initial, first round of comments from everyone on the board. So August 22nd. So we met with them August 22nd, so that, what you're referring to is the new crosswalk improvements. That would have been something that was something new to them. And we have not yet filed an application with the DOT. We've just met with them to review the plans as we have it, so we haven't formally filed. So there's a chance that there's, something internally that isn't being communicated to other parties.
Interesting. Can you further elaborate, what does that mean, file an application with the DOT versus what you've outlined here? I'm not understanding the difference.
So we presented the original layout, the layout that didn't have this wide crosswalk, didn't have the don't lock the box striping to the DOT, again, on August 22nd. They requested we widen that to 10 feet from the 6 feet we had previously. And we discussed the pedestrian, the beacons, the flasher lights that were added as requested. And again, they did not object to that. So the DOT has jurisdiction over Speedwell Avenue, it's a state highway. We will have to file an application with them for an access permit, and that is because we are removing the driveways that exist today, proposing a new driveway.
Okay. I don't know if you guys can take that up as a follow-up, it's just not making sense in my head why we're gonna use whoever's money to fix the crosswalk there, like that's in motion, and now we're being shown this, so I'm just not following, but it sounds like.
Can I just clarify, because you brought
Yeah.
this up at a council meeting?
Yeah,
So, like I said, this process started with us, the borough, a year and a half or 2 years
Yeah.
ago, whatever it was. That was for grant money to get the lights for this. This has nothing to do with moving a crosswalk. There's already a pre-existing crosswalk down further a little bit. That's not gonna be moved, that the lights are being proposed to put there as well. We received the grant just for putting the lights on the crosswalks as they were, not as being moved or part of block the box or expanding the width of the sidewalk or anything like that. This was specifically for blinking, flashing lights when they hit the button to get the people across the existing crosswalks that are there.
and it was my interpretation that that grant was approved, or am I misunderstanding?
That grant was approved. It's probably a different arm of whoever they're dealing with. And if this application doesn't get approved, we will still continue to go ahead with that grant funding.
Will this application hold up that regardless?
This application more than likely will not hold that process up. We've already been approved for it.
Okay. I'm just being mindful of everyone's time and money. Obviously, we all have the same end goal, but I'm looking forward to learning more from both fronts. I'd also like to focus on the plantings that you were speaking about, if we can zoom in on the bottom part of the screen. So I like seeing that we're adding all of these plantings. How can we ensure that all of these positive additions aren't ruined by the pollution and the odor emissions coming from the building right in the same lot?
So typically when a project goes to construction, the applicant or the owner will post what's called a performance guarantee. So they've got to meet, so it becomes an agreement between the two parties, the town and the applicant and the owner, that the landscaping that's installed on site has to be maintained for a set, duration. Basically, it's to make sure that it establishes, the landscaping establishes itself so that it can survive.
Okay. Has there been an environmental impact report filed for this or published?
No,
Will there be one?
no.
Why?
I don't,
No, I know what I'm
Not
thinking.
please let me talk, not what he didn't testify or what might else come, but the plans that he testified to, those changes, that's really what you have to ask the question.
Okay, my red flag was the plantings, but I will not look for an answer for that question at this time. So the trash receptacles was actually in response to something that I brought up last meeting, so thank you for adding them, and it's good to see there's 4, not just 1. And as you were pulling it up on the screen, I know you mentioned, oh, they're so small. So I'm just wondering, with the frequency being confirmed that they'll be emptied twice a day, does that speak to the traffic that's expected to come through here, or that's just a standard, they're gonna be changed 2 times a day?
It's an operational item, so if they're full and needs to be changed 3 times a day, then the staff in the building would do so.
Okay, you mentioned the 2 times a day, so I was just wondering if you had
The
more
intent
insight
there
than I
is so
did.
that the trash isn't sitting in there overnight. And if it's busy and there's, breakfast, lunch, you're gonna change it out if there's a change in the peak at this restaurant.
I can't see on the screen now any of the trash receptacles, but are they drive-through friendly, being part of a drive-through prominent lot? And in that, I mean the ones that extend so that the people eating in their cars can just drive and throw out the trash without just throwing it out their window on the floor? Or are they just standard box trash cans?
They are the taller version that project into the parking area. There's none up against the building. We have them all in the parking area, but we can add another one along the front of the building to capture that additional trash.
Okay, thanks. So I also learned about berms tonight, so thanks for explaining that. Can you elaborate a little bit on, well, if you want to scroll down so we can see what I'm talking about, how does snow impact that? Like snow removal, I'm assuming, is going to be piled up somewhere. Does that ruin the effectiveness of a berm, or? And I'm only asking this because you did enlighten us what a berm was.
So in this case, there's no impact with the snow removal.
Okay.
This berm is set back from the curb at a significant distance, so the snow will be just piled into the areas in front of the berm. So all the plantings are on top of the berm. So we've got this green area up here that's kind of the open space in front of the berm, which is just grass. So that's room to lose snow. And then we've got green areas around the parking area that can be used for snow.
Okay. It snows a lot, so. I'm assuming this revised plan, which you've testified to tonight, requires a lot of digging, correct? Like construction work, digging?
It's no different on the building and site side. That's very similar to the original. There's more landscaping work.
And so, yes, I think there will be digging in the ground. I guess I'm reacting to a letter that I just got in the mail as a resident of the street, and others have as well, specifically regarding the Environmental Protection Agency's lead and copper rule revisions. This is part of it. They require all water systems to notify customers, non-paying consumers, and any off-site owner of a property when it is known that they are served by a service line of unknown composition. Specifically, it was about lead testing, and there's a survey that we now need to take. And when I look up the addresses, this lot is included, so I guess I'm just thinking, what happens when we're adding these plantings and we're moving the grease trap and we're digging and we find perhaps a lead pipe, because that would fall under an unknown composition? What then happens? Who pays for the fixing of the lead pipe?
So as part of the demolition, and again, all these site features which exist today would be removed. Part of that, to obtain a demolition permit, you have to cut all existing services, utility services. So if there is a lead pipe serving the Friendlies or the other building currently, that would be removed in accordance with the DP standards. If the question is about soil, and if anything gets removed there or found, that's handled during construction. If there's an off-site disposal that we need to take care of, any soil leaving the site. And again, we do have to submit for a soil permit prior to any construction happening, so that would get reviewed at that time as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Can we also zoom in on the updated driveway apron, please? I think that's what it's called, but you could correct me if Cool. So, is the apron on the screen larger than any apron that's currently existing on the lot?
It's actually smaller than the driveway that's out there now.
Okay, that's helpful to know. So if I'm exiting and I'm making that left, I also am seeing, sorry, my head's crooked, I'm seeing a lot of plantings to my right. So what's gonna be the plan to make sure that a 4-year-old on his tricycle that's coming up Dayton to go to Dunkin' Donuts isn't in the blind side of the car, because there is gonna be a lot of stuff preventing that car ideally from turning right, but I'm just seeing that as an area of concern. Like that big tree, or like, how can we?
So we have site triangles shown on this plan, and that's this, it's hatched with a dot. So it's more,
See nice bushes.
so that is the site triangle, and that extends out from where a driver would stop at the driveway. So at the stop bar, we measure, we show the site triangle, and again, that'll go all the way out to Dayton. Site triangles are based on the speed of the road, so these are for a local 25-mile-an-hour road. There's no plantings within the site triangle going to make that left turn.
So what about to the right though? Like, I am understanding what you mean.
We
up-
also have a site triangle there, even though it's for visibility, and there's also no plantings there, and it's clear of the trees we're proposing, but also trees, utility poles, they don't get considered as obstructions in site triangles.
Okay, thanks. In terms of that apron, while we're on the topic, so can you confirm if moving it, which has been moved, interferes with the no parking at any time sign that's currently on Dayton? And I know that's a minor thing, but I wanna make sure that sign gets put back up.
Yeah, I have it shown as to remain.
Okay, that's good to know. I think you said it, I just want to triple confirm. So there is no physical barrier that is restricting a vehicle, whether it be a little punch buggy or a multi-ton semi-truck, from turning right onto Dayton.
There's a sign post on the other side of the apron.
Okay.
This is town property, so for us to propose anything in the right of way would require approval. So what we have shown is our best design to deter that movement.
Can you just elaborate on what you said? Because maybe some people missed that. You weren't saying that there's just a sign there. A sign. There's actual physically a sign obstructing the path of the vehicle, correct?
Yes, so right, a few inches from the driveway taper of the apron, we have a sign again that says the no left turns into the store. Because again, it's an egress only, so if someone's trying to make a right, that's something that they would hit in addition to the curb, trying to make a right out of this driveway as it's designed currently.
Sounds good. Thank you for all of those responses.
Mr. Connolly, we're gonna have to cut it off right now. I'm sorry, but there are, several people after you. It's 11:15. So I think we're gonna have to continue this at our next meeting. Yeah. Okay, so our next meeting is going to be November 12th. It's not on a Monday, and it's going to be located here as well. Okay?
So you know, that's the Tuesday before our meeting would normally be scheduled. Tuesday before the meeting would normally be scheduled, here at 7:30, just so you know that, November 12th.
Thank you.
Okay, and
I will get it on the website too, planning board, okay?
Mr. Vitale, will you agree an extension for us to make a determination
Yes.
until the end of November?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Sir, you will send me a letter?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No other business, do we have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor?
Good work, Paul. I can hear. Hey,